Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as ANdmadeco, here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today, I want to go over everything that I've knit in October, as well as share with you some of my current works in progress, as well as plans and acquisitions. So your regular knitting podcast style form of video. And since it is a new month, November 1st, I want to go over everything that I've knit in October, but all of the items that I've mentioned previously and go into detail about in a previous sit-down video, I will just put the names as well as the pictures and the designer up on the screen. And so all of the details for these projects can be found in my previous sit-down video. The first garment that I finished this month was the Relaxed Tee by Amy Shure, and although it is quite cold to be wearing a knitted t-shirt at the moment, I really love how the Relaxed Tee turned out, and I'm just so happy with the finished object. And the same thing goes for the Peony Vest by Annie Germain, which I love so much, and that was a part of two vest make-alongs. First, October Vest Mail hosted by the botanical knitter Emily, and that ends at the end of October, so it's already ended. Today is October 31st as I'm filming this. And the other vest make-along is TC Vest Friends 25 hosted by Tico's Yarn Shop, and that one should go until November. So if you'd like to join a vest make-along, so it's a knit-along, crochet-along, then you're welcome to do that as well. And the three smaller projects that I've previously mentioned, which have their own vlog to it, are the Ghostwood Mittens by Kiyomi Bergen, which I made in this beautiful plum color, as well as Poppy the Chicken by Jessica Reeves Potaz, Mama in a Stitch, and this is a free pattern. It is so cute, and this was the second Poppy that I've made so far this year, as well as Noodles by Sarah Shira. And I am making a gnome every single month, so there will be one for November as well, sometime in the future. And before I get into what I've completed since my last sit down video, I also want to mention that I was in Maddie by a Thread Knits' video, and we ranked every single petite knit pattern that we've made so far, and that was a really fun video to be a part of, and it's out, so you're welcome to watch it, and I'll definitely have that video linked as well. And usually, for my freshly finished objects, I would go in more chronological order, but today I want to kind of switch things up because I just finished this, which is Reading Room Slipover by Amy Shure, and I just came off of filming the outro for this video, and so this video should, the project vlog should also be out, and I'm hoping to have the project vlog out October 31st since today is Halloween, and then have this Everything I Made in October video out on November 1st on a Saturday, of course. First, I test knit size B on the recommended needle size, which is US 5 3.75 millimeter needles for the main body, and for the ribbing I use the recommended US 3 3.25 millimeter needle. And this slipover is knit bottom up, and there are a couple of options going into it. So I will introduce the yarn and then I'll stand up and show you what it looks like. The yarn that I use is actually from a cone, and this is the Harrisville Shetland cone, so it's 100% wool, and this is, I would say, it's a plump fingering weight after it's been all blocked and dried. So plump fingering weight to a sport weight, and this pattern recommends a plump sport weight yarn, but Amy did say that a DK weight yarn might be a little too thick. And so I think if you go for a plump fingering to a sport weight yarn, you should be safe to make this vest. And I love the texture on it. So this is in the color 9 Evergreen, and the yarn on the cones do come with a bit of spinning oil in it because it's usually meant for weaving, but I really enjoyed knitting off of a cone. I also really enjoy just knitting off of a cone in general because then you don't have to worry about a lot of ends that are from your yarn. But also there's not a lot of flyaways. Because of the spinning oil, it is quite sticky on the cone, and so you see that the yarn isn't really flying anywhere, and that means there aren't a lot of particles also flying in my home or when I'm knitting with it. Although I do have to say that I did sneeze a few times because the spinning oil does make me sneeze. It's the smell of it. And when I was washing it, there was quite a bit of runoff. I first soaked it in some dish soap and super hot water, and then I had some just wool wash, as well as I rinsed it a few times. And you can tell that this part is where, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this yarn is, I guess, where it's kind of been just rolling around in my house on the couch and stuff. And then this is a fresh end from when I cut where I was working on. And I'm not sure if you can tell the difference between how plump it gets when it has been kind of massaged a bit and when the spinning oil has rubbed off. And I'm really happy with how much how far this one cone got me. And so this cone is 8 ounces, 228 grams with approximately 900 yards. I used around 186, so 190 grams, we'll say, of yarn. And so it wasn't that much for this vest, but I did also make the crop version without the split hem. So now I'll show you what it looks like close up. So standing up, I hope you can see what it looks like. I don't really have a viewfinder, so I'm not sure if I'm entirely in screen, but I did make the version without the split hem. So there are 2 options, one with a split hem and one with a joined hem. But because I knew I was going to make the crop version, I wanted it to have just the joined hem. And there is a ribbing panel that goes up as well on the sides, and the textured knit is so beautiful. The textures just go up in a diagonal, but it's only a 4-row repeat, and so it's super easy to tell where you are. There is also a crew neck view versus a V-neck view, and I decided to go with a V-neck because I really like how V-neck slipovers look. And the finishings are pretty simple. They're just 1x1 ribbing with your optional tubular bind off or your knit bind off according to the pattern. And as with all of Amy's patterns, it is very size inclusive and comes with a lot of different instructions on how to modify it to fit your body the best. So I went for size B because that's the upper bust circumference measurement, which is around 34 inches, and I'm slightly above that, but I thought that the size B would be perfect, and I'm really happy with how it fits. It does have a bit of positive ease, but it's not super oversized on me at all. And this garment does go up to a finished bust circumference of 71 inches, and that's a 2-fit measurement of, I think, 60 inches and a little bit. And so I'm really happy with how it came out. And as with a lot of Amy's other patterns, this pattern also has instructions on how to add bust darts. I'm really not sure if all of her patterns come with instructions on how to add bust darts, just because it's not something that I look for in a pattern, because personally, I don't need it, but I know that a lot of her patterns do come with instructions on how to add bust darts, just because the fit is so much better. And I know that fit is something that Amy is super conscious about, and she's really great at modifying the fit and encouraging other people to also modify their fits of their garments to match their body the best. And one of the things that I also appreciated was that there were explicit instructions in the pattern of course, there's how much length you want to add in the body before you start the shaping for the front and the back, but there's also instructions on if you want to lengthen the front and the back versus if you want to shorten it, then how to do that as well, which I really appreciated, because also some people's just their underarm to their top of their shoulder, the length isn't the same for everybody, and I thought that was pretty cool as well. So when I first got into this test knit, I thought I'd be making it with Wool Dreamer Sauna yarn, which is one of the recommended yarns, but unfortunately I didn't have a singular color, enough of a singular color to make it, and so I decided to go with this, which is the Hairspell Cone, as I've mentioned, and I bought this off of local yarn store day at Tea Cozy Yarn Shop, and so I'm so happy that I was able to use it. I also have a lighter green color, and I thought I would pair this color with the lighter green color when I first bought it, but now the lighter green color will just have to wait for its project, because I'm really happy with how this turned out. So maybe I'll make another vest with that lighter green color. And as I've mentioned before, Reading Room Slipover is currently in testing, and so I think the release schedule has this coming out in early January of next year, which is so crazy to think about that we are already planning for 2026, but it is November now, so we are at the tail end of 2025. And saying all that, I don't know that I will be signing up for more test knits, I think, in 2025, just because there are so many objects that I want to finish and get off of my queue going into 2026. And so we'll talk about that in the plans segment. But of course, I'm so happy to have finished this, and it didn't take too long. I think it took around a week to make this, even though it was on a US 5, a 3.75 millimeter needle, and the stitch pattern, once I got into the groove of it, was just pretty rhythmic, and it's not something that you have to think so hard about. It's really easy to read the stitches, so I was really happy. In the testing document, it said that this garment is mostly suitable for people who've knit 2 to 3 previous garments, and I would agree with that, just because there is shaping and it is bottom up. So I think probably a top down simple garment would be what I suggest for your first garment. But if you are a very, very adventurous beginner, then I guess you could try this as well and see if you do enjoy bottom up garments as your first garment. I'm not sure, but just in general, I think that for a bottom-up garment, this came with a lot of instructions and I would highly recommend it. And I'm really happy with my finished garment. I would highly recommend it, and I'll definitely let you know when it does come out. And the next finished object that I also like to talk about is Fireplace Sweater by Maddie's Knits, which is also a test knit. I think all of my finished objects right now, for this video at least, are test knits, just because I was really determined to get all of the test knits completed by the end of October so that I could really focus in the last month in November as well as in December, focus on just gift knitting as well as just knitting my personal projects that I've had queued up. And so this is a test knit that I've completed. I'm so happy also with how this one has turned out. The basic details are that I knit a size 2 and I used the recommended needle size, which is a US 8, a 5mm needle. And this has beautiful cables running down it, as you can see. I also have a project video that I've uploaded about it. But first, let me introduce the yarn to you. So the yarn I used is Lime Brand Fisherman's Wool in the color Natural Ecru, and it's this really creamy color, almost a dirty white. So it's a creamy color and I just love how it looks. I had this yarn, I have 4 balls of it. I only ended up using 2.2 skeins. So I have quite a bit left, 1.8 of these. And this comes in 227 grams, which is also 8 ounces at 425 meters or 465 yards. This is a worsted to an Aran weight yarn. And I bought this last year knowing that I would make an Aran weight cardigan or a sweater out of it. And I'm so happy that I decided to make a cable knit sweater, because a cable knit Aran cream colored white sweater just screams fall winter to me, and I'm so happy that I have this one. And Lime Brand Fisherman's Wool is one of those yarns where it is a workhorse yarn. It does wear really well, but it isn't very soft. And so if you aren't very sensitive to wools, I would highly recommend this. It is 100% non-superwash wool, and it isn't your softest yarn, but I think that for the price point, it is a great yarn. And so I would, if you are in the market for more affordable yarns, I would highly recommend this one. The finished breast circumference for this pattern goes from 39 to 75 inches, so it is very size inclusive, and it does have a recommended positive ease range of around 12 inches. I think I have more of a 8 to 10 inch range on my cable sweater, but that's because that's what I wanted to go for, and that's why I chose to do a size 2. I will stand up so you can see each of the cables up close. I'm so happy with how all the cables on the sweater has turned out. The sleeves aren't super long, they are quite short at bracelet length, so if you want a longer sleeve, you can of course make it longer. I just followed the instructions completely, and this is the length that I ended up with. Before blocking, it was quite short, and so after blocking, everything has relaxed, and also the shoulders I think will just drop even more just because it is a more bulky or a heavier cabled sweater. And I am so happy with these cables. I especially love this chunky cable in the middle of the body here, as well as twisted rib cables that are going down the side. So there's a mix of all different types of cables in the sweater. So you have your main chunky braided cable, as well as the twisted rib cable that I talked about, where in my last sit down video, as I showed this garment as a work in progress, because that twisted rib cable, because it is a twisted rib and you are cabling it, you have to kind of pinch your stitches if you are going without a cable needle so that your twisted rib doesn't untwist on you. But I managed to make it work, and I'm really happy that it turned out really beautifully. And I know that some of the testers who have accidentally twisted their cables the wrong way when they were going down to fix their mistake, they said that the twisted rib cable was the hardest part to fix their mistake on. So that's something that I would just be a little more alert on when you are making these cables. And there are also some faux cables where you have a little bit of a yarn over, but I think the yarn over is fine. It doesn't make this garment see-through in any way, and I really love the look of it. And it is a faux cable, so that one you don't need to worry about cabling anything. The arms also don't have any of the twisted rib cables, so the arms actually went by really quickly. Another thing that I enjoy is the folded over neckline. I did make my collar slightly shorter than in the pattern just because, as I said, this isn't the softest wool, so I didn't want it to be too close to my neck, but I think that it also is at a point where it's not going to stretch out any more than this, and if it does, then I'll just add an elastic to it. One of the modifications that I've made to this pattern is that for the neckline, it just says to pick up every 4 out of 5 stitches. However, I decided to pick up 1 for 1 on the cast on in the front as well as the back where it's flat. And then for the diagonals, I picked up every 2 out of 3 to get around the same rate. And when I was done picking everything up, I actually had the exact same number as recommended in the pattern. So if you are interested in just the fit of that, then I would recommend you also make that modification. And for the sleeve, I did the same thing where I picked up 1 for 1 at the bottom backward loop cast on. And then for the rest of the sleeve, I think in the pattern it says pick up every 4 out of 5 again. I picked up every 3 out of 4, which is 80%, 75%, pretty similar. And I was able to, again, hit the same number of recommended stitches for the sleeves. And that's just a little bit of how I modified just some of the fits so that I think it will be more comfortable wearing it as time goes on. And I'm really happy with how this sweater looks overall, and I know that I'll get some really great wears out of it. The only hesitancy that I have in this pattern overall is that after you join in the round, the front and the back are on different cabled rows. And so if that's something that you don't want to overcome, then I totally understand, because there are a lot of cables and the cables do not go all at the same time. So some are 6-row repeats, some are 4, some are 8. The 4 and the 8 are easier to remember which are which, but at the very beginning I had to put markers for every 6-row repeat ones where I could keep track of how many rows that I've done since the last cable. And it was one of those things where I think after I did a few repeats, I was definitely very okay without the chart at all and really able to get into the flow of things. But I just had to wrap my head around the fact that the front and the back were on different rows. Madeline's Knits is a smaller designer, and I'm so happy to have tested for her. I think that this was a great pattern and I highly recommend it when it does come out. I'll definitely let you know when it is released. And the final finished object that I have to share from October is Cityscape Hat by Tori Yu. And as I said, it's also a test knit. I made the youth size. First, the yarn I made with it is so cute, and this is Bella Fialto Fiber Studio, and it is in the Cupcake Sock, and it's in the color Pink Velvet. It is a pink yarn with little tweed bits of rainbow running through it, and I double stranded this fingering weight yarn to make a DK weight gauge or a DK weight hat. For this, I used the recommended needle size, which is a US 4, a 3.5 millimeter needle, and the only modification I made for it is that I made the top a lot longer than what the designer suggests, partly because I misread the instructions, but also because I like a pointier hat. I know some people don't like any slouch in their hats, but I like pointy hats, especially on kids. I think it's so cute. It kind of gives that little elf look. And my daughter is 3.5, but she's 99th percentile in her head size as well as her height. So she fits this really well, even though there are only 2 sizes in the pattern. There's a youth size as well as an adult. And I think a lot of felts could probably fit this as well. It is quite stretchy and roomy. And so I think that if you have a smaller head, then you can definitely fit this as an adult. And I used around 70 grams of the 100 gram skein that I had. Of course, a fingering weight held double. And so this took around 300 yards, which would be around 150 to 160 yards if you were just using a DK weight to get this much of the length as well. So first, the major modification is that the length of the hat that Tori recommends is only 6 inches from the edge. And so it would be like this, and I think it would be only 6 inches, so you would start decreasing here. So it would be quite a bit shorter than my finished hat size. Going into the construction of this hat is knit inside out. And so you start here and you do your cables first, and then you do your 2x2 rib. And when you actually knit it and finish it, you finish it and you flip it inside out. So all of the finishing is really nice, as well as the cable portion is on your outside since the brim is flipped up. And I'm really happy with the way it looks. Tori's instructions on how to do the cast on as well as the setup for the cables really make it flawless and go up into this cable section really well. And I'm so happy with just how it looks. I think the details were really nice for the decreases as well. And when I flipped it inside out, the decreases look so sharp and they look so good. I didn't do any tugging or yarn management in any way. I just let the stitches do what they did on the wrong side, and when I flipped it inside out, it was very pretty. I also really like the larger brim. I think if you made your hat to the pattern, you would have a smaller brim, but I like the look of a larger brim, and I really like the size of the brim, the larger brim, and I think part of that is because I knit the length a lot longer than what's recommended. So if you were to knit this 2 pattern, the brim might be a little shorter and your hat would also be a little shorter, but that's also a modification that you could definitely make, and just knitting a little longer. And I'm really happy with how my version has come out. But a lot of the testers that I've seen that also have made this hat, I think their versions were very beautiful too. And even without the slouch, I think it would be a very beautiful hat. I made this hat for my daughter to take to preschool so that she could wear it outside, and I'm really happy that she'll be able to do it in a color that she loves. I picked this yarn out at the little free library in front of Tea Cozy Yarn Shop. Somebody had put a full skein in there, and so I'm really grateful for whoever did, because she really loves the coloring of this yarn and she was so happy as I was making her this hat. So in all the photos that I'll probably have up here, I let her know to cover her face, and that's what she did. So she's not in shame or she's not sad or anything. It's just because I asked her to cover her face so that I wouldn't have to go back and edit the video, especially because I wanted her to turn and see all the aspects of this hat. I think the fit is perfect. It's very cute. And Cityscape is also a part of a set, so Tori's going to come out with fingerless mittens, as well as she already has a cowl or a scarf with this cabling pattern, the same cabling pattern. So if you are interested in the simple cabling pattern or the look of this hat, I highly recommend this. I will definitely also let you know when this pattern comes out. And speaking of test knits and pattern releases, Finch Sweater by Del Baudry is coming out November 7th, so a week from now. And I'm really excited for that one to come out because I really enjoyed making it. It's half fisherman's rib, so it is a lot of knitting. It's not a fast project, but I really enjoyed my process of making it and getting into the groove of making it. So if that's something you're interested in, then I would definitely keep an eye out for that pattern. And those are all my finished objects for October, and now we'll go into works in progress. I only have a couple, and the first is of course Sibilla Cardigan by Cookie the Knitter, and I am buddy knitting this with my friend Catherine. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but I have finished the sleeves since last time. It's just that the sleeves are also on hold for the cuffs. And that's because I have 5 of this yarn, which is Yellholt Handbarks yarn in the color 30 half skim, which is seafoam. I'm making the size 3, so the medium size, on a US 8 5mm needle. And the issue is that I don't have enough yarn, and so I had to buy some more yarn. But it's only after I finished one sleeve completely that I realized I wouldn't have enough yarn. And this isn't one of the projects where I want to play yarn chicken, because since it is an all over beautiful cable knit cardigan, I really want to make this to the length and just to the fit that I want to, and I don't want to be limited by yarn on it. And so I decided to frog back my cuff and buy more yarn, and then use my current dye lot to complete the body, and then I'll do the hems in the different dye lots, and we will go from there. It shouldn't be too different, but just with ordering more yarn, I just didn't want there to be any sort of discoloration or a demarcation line of where I would switch for yarn skeins. So we'll see how fast we can knit the body, but this is a project that I'm working on and I am very happy about. The Sibilla cardigan also falls perfectly into Stephanie Edible Thoughts Makes' make along of Make All the Cardigans MAL 2025, and so I will definitely have a link to that as well. But I'm really excited because this will definitely be done before December, and that make along ends in December. And my last work in progress is a project that I just started this morning, so it's very fresh on the needles, and it is a beanie. This is the Viima Beanie by Veera Välimäki, and this is a free pattern. And so I'm making it with Sansgarn Pure Gint in the color 4315, and this is, I think, called Bubblegum Pink. And this was one of the yarns that were on sale, so I'm not sure if it is a limited color. And my sister and my mom were able to buy this at Norway, and my mom especially chose this yarn because she wants a hat out of it. Originally, I was thinking of making the weekend hat or another type of ribbed hat, and with a triple folded brim for my mom, except I chose to make the Viima Beanie because the Viima Beanie is knit on chunky needles, and I've made this hat earlier in the year and I gifted it to my parents when we were in Korea in April, and so I made it I think sometime in January or February. But my mom yesterday video called me and she was wearing this hat and she said she really liked it, so I decided not to experiment in any way and just make her a hat that she really likes. And it being a chunky knit, or a bulky knit, it's going to be a very quick knit. I cast this on this morning because today, as I said, is Halloween, and so as I'm waiting for trick-or-treaters, this is the project that I'll be working on. And this is very mindless. It is just 1x1 rib until you get to the few decrease rounds at the end. I did do the Italian cast on, and this is knit on US 11 8mm needles, so it goes by really quickly. And I'm holding Sandsgarn Pure Gint double. So I have 3 of these balls and I will hold the double, and then for the other one, for the last ball that I have left, I'll pull from the inside and the outside depending on the length. But I know my mom also likes a slouchy, not a slouchy, but kind of a pointy beanie, and this I thought I might have to go down in needle size. But if you go from a US 11, which is a 8mm needle, down to a US 10.5, it becomes a 6.5mm needle. So there is a 1.5mm difference between 11 and a 10.5. And so I decided between a US 11 and a 10.5. And so I decided to just stick with the US 11 because I know that that's the size she likes the most as well. And just looking at it, doesn't look like it's going to be that floppy, and it looks like there's enough room in the stitches as well. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a holey or a loose knit beanie at all. And I'm just so happy to be knitting this. This color is also really beautiful. And I know that last year, as I was waiting for trick-or-treaters as well, I was making the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, and that one I gifted to my mother-in-law, and I was just knitting on it, waiting for trick-or-treaters to come to the door. And so I'm really excited to have a similar experience this year, knitting on this beanie, which should go by super quickly. And that is all for works in progress because I have not casted on another garment yet, and I definitely will cast on another garment, I think tomorrow, November 1st. And I will most likely cast on the Anna Cortez pullover by Michelle Frazetta for my husband, as I've mentioned in the last however many videos. I think every single video, every single sit down video that I filmed for the past 4 or 5 videos, I've mentioned that I want to make the Anna Cortez pullover, and it's going to finally happen. And now to get on to the rest of the plans, I plan on making the Anna Cortez pullover. I would also really love to make the Lakes pullover by Ozetta in the black yarn, as that is a part of my Make 9, and that's the final part of my Make 9. And I'd also like to make the Holly sweater by Pernille Larsen by Knitting for Olive, as I bought the kit for it. And I want a holiday sweater before December, before the end of the year, so that I could wear it during December. And as we are in November, I am thinking ahead and planning ahead because I know just how busy it gets during the holiday season. And also last year in December, I did a roundup of everything that I knit in December because I like to round things up by the end of the year so that in the new year I could focus on fresh new things. And so that's probably what I'll end up doing this year as well. It seems so far in advance to think about it, but in my head, I'm just trying to get all the knits that I want to get done in 2025 by the end of November 30th so that I could make that video of everything that I made in 2025, but really 2024 December to 2025 November 30th, if you know what I'm talking about. And so I'm just trying to get all that wrapped up and just trying to plan out ahead for the next couple of months, which is also why I finished up all the test knits I wanted to get done in October. And then now in November and December, I'm kind of just, in November, I'm wrapping up all of my knitting. In December, I'm wrapping up the year basically. And I'm just excited for the end of the year festivities and feelings. And I just love the November, December kind of cozy Christmas lights and all that. And I know it's too early to think about it right now, but I am one of those people who also puts up their Christmas lights pretty early on and their tree pretty early on. So I'm not sure exactly when it will go up this year, but hopefully sometime mid-November. And that leads us really nicely into acquisitions, because one of the things that came this week was, I'm trying to make it not crinkle, but one of the things that came this week was my Advent skein for Freckled Whimsy, which is a sock yarn, and it's a self-striping sock yarn, and it is in the skate hank, and so I'll have to cake it up. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I might just cake it up and make the sock completely and then just not show anybody until the end of December. But I'm not sure if I have it within me to just knit one stripe a day because as you know, as I know, I'm very no-chill and I'm also quite impatient and not that great with surprises, but we'll see. I'm just really happy it came. And so far I've resisted the temptation to open this package. So maybe that will be the big December surprise for me, or maybe I'll open it at the end of December after everybody is done making their socks so that I don't spoil it for anybody, including myself. And the last acquisition that I have to share is from Garntopia from Norway. And this is really exciting because I made the purchase on Saturday and it was here by the following Wednesday. So it only took 5 days to ship from Norway all the way to the United States, to Seattle. And there was a weekend in between as well. So I'm just very impressed by that speed. But I really wanted the yarn, or I needed the yarn to finish up my Sibilla cardigan, but I also had to buy some extra to meet the minimum shipping, as well as just to meet the shipping requirements. There was a minimum of a $60 purchase, and then I think shipping was around $40 and duties were around maybe $10 to $20. And all in all, I paid around $120 something for this package. And usually I don't state the prices of items just because I'm not that great at remembering the exact cost of everything. But for this, I wanted to stay around what I paid for just because I know that everything's so uncertain with all the tariffs and the duties that are due. And the duties were paid as I was checking out, and so this was able to clear customs and get to me right away. It also came really nicely packaged, so I was really happy about that. And the yarn that I needed, of course, was a Yellow Handvarks yarn in the color Half Scums, the same one that I have. And I think they actually might be the same dye lot now that I'm seeing the dye lot number, because I think that they are the exact same dye lot because my sister didn't buy this too long ago. She bought it a month ago, so it would make sense that all the stores have similar dye lots in similar areas because no, but my sister got this in Copenhagen, so I'm not sure, but I think the dye lot is the same, which would be very exciting because then I don't have to worry about anything. But just in case, I probably will still use this for the hems as well. And I'm really happy I got 2 more skeins. Catherine said that she also ordered 2 additional skeins and she was very willing to share, but I just didn't want to impose on her in that way because I think that I would have been quite short of yarn, and so I bought 2 as well just to be safe. And to meet the minimum purchase, I also purchased this, which is Sandscarn Pure Gint in the color Tutti Frutti. And this is in the color 1044. And I have 6 of these. And this yarn I got specifically because Maddie by Thread Knits has made her Olga jacket with Tutti Frutti, as well as a lime, I think ochre. It's a greenish orangey color that she's made her Olga jacket in. And I really like the color Tutti Frutti. So I got 6 of these. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to make with it. I might also decide to stripe it in a future day, but I had to meet the minimum requirements, so I decided to get this yarn because it was fresh on my head. And also really excitingly, Garntopia had this, which is Sandscarn, the Softly for Women edition. It's the 2022, and a lot of people talk about the Amy Slipover from this, as well as the Guernsey pattern in here, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. So a lot of people talk about the Amy Slipover, which this is what it looks like, as well as the Guernsey Genzer, and this is what the Guernsey Genzer looks like. And I wanted to get it for those patterns. This booklet though, because it is from 2022, isn't super size inclusive. I think it only goes up to a 3 extra large, and the Amy Slipover itself is 1 size, and so I'm not sure how that will work. But because I've been seeing these patterns, I've seen so many people knit it, I've also wanted to get my hands on it, and this pattern book was available on Garntopia. And this pattern book was available, I think, with a minimum of a 4-ball Sandscarn purchase, which is why I decided to purchase 6 balls of the Tutti Frutti yarn. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to get to this. It is in English and they did have copies available. So I wanted to get this definitely based on my curiosity. And this is a booklet. There are quite a few patterns in here. I know most recently Sandscarn has been selling their patterns as singular patterns that are printed. And those patterns, I think, their most recent patterns are pretty size inclusive, and the ones in here aren't. So there are definitely pros and cons, but I think this booklet was probably around $10, and if you were to purchase a singular pattern, I think it's also around the same cost. So I'm not really sure on the pricing there, but I am really happy to have this. I'm just not sure when I will get to making it. I'm thinking about what I want to make in 2026, and my queue keeps getting longer and longer, which I'm sure that you can relate to. And so I will keep my eye on this, and there are other patterns, of course, that I want to make. And so this just goes into everything else that I want to make as well. And with that, that wraps up everything that I've completed in October. This episode particularly was very test knitting heavy, and that's of course because I wanted to finish everything before we step into November and December, since I have so many other plans. And in November, I plan on tackling a lot of the items that I've wanted to make since the beginning of this year, so I hope that you'll join me for that as well. If you can, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.